after he returns from the UN General Assembly. Our first guest tonight to discuss whether, well, among other things, Rosenstein deserves to be fired and how it all might affect the Mueller witch hunt. Joining us tonight, Congressman Matt Gaetz, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, a member of the Freedom Caucus, and it's great to have you with us, Congressman.
Good to be with you. And happy birthday, Lou.
Well, thank you very much.
You're going to love your 30s.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. And thank you for that. I want to turn first to Rosenstein. The speculation was rampant in the media. The media started publishing well ahead of their knowledge on this, and that's the entire media, with a few exceptions. Your thoughts about where we're headed with this? A meeting scheduled Thursday with Rosenstein at the White House. Where are we, and what do you think the prospects are?
Well, we've got to move beyond a circumstance where we've got, claims from Andrew McCabe, who we know is a liar, in the New York Times. We've got to get answers under oath. And here's what we know, Lou. Rod Rosenstein has never denied that he made mention of wearing a wire on the President of the United States. What's in question is whether that was serious or whether it was a joke, or maybe it was a joke that he hoped would become serious. Sometimes people tell jokes at the beginning, but either way, it is inappropriate for the Deputy Attorney General of the United States to even be joking about wearing a wire on the President in the presence of colleagues and subordinates. I think Rod Rosenstein needs to be in the witness chair this week in the House Judiciary Committee. He needs to go under oath and explain these circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting approach. I think you're exactly right. The question is, how do you get him there? And
I've got an answer to that, Lou.
Okay.
There are articles of impeachment against Rod Rosenstein that are currently pending. Any member of Congress can call those up, and they have to be dealt with within 2 days. If our leadership and will not put Rod Rosenstein in that witness chair so the American people can get answers, Mark Meadows and I are prepared to call up his impeachment and force a vote. That would keep Congress in session potentially for a few extra days. The leadership wants to send us all home to campaign, but this is important. It goes to the foundation of the institution of the presidency, and if we don't get answers, we might start demanding votes.
Demanding votes, amongst those votes, perhaps a motion to vacate as well, to move your speaker out of that office that he resigned at the beginning of the year.
Well, look, I just want to get answers on what's before us, Lou. And look, our leadership has an obligation to the institution so that we can perform our oversight. And in the absence of documents and witnesses, we're all just talking heads on TV. And the American people deserve more. That's why Chairman Mark Meadows and I are demanding Rod Rosenstein this week under oath. And if it turns out that he was joking about these things and laughing about them, my hope would be that President Trump wouldn't have to fire him, that John Kelly would fire him, because any chief of staff should not tolerate that type of behavior in the administration.
There are two names suddenly. There is John Kelly, the chief of staff, and there is Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General, both whose names keep us being associated in stories that is not flattering to either the president or to themselves. And this also should not be tolerated. Enough is enough. There is a level of decorum and respect for the dignity of this president and his office that those types of behavioral outbursts from either of them should end.
Well, and you wonder why there is this feeling where resistance can be allowed inside the administration. If you've got the Deputy Attorney General joking about destabilizing the presidency, that is precisely the ecosystem that allows people to frustrate the will of this president that we're talking about each and every day. The president moving the country forward, locking up successes, scoring wins, and he's doing it despite the fact that people in his own administration are undermining him.
And despite the leadership of his own party, who in many cases have been undermining him. And I want to turn to right now, Judge Kavanaugh, who has, I've seen smear campaigns throughout covering politics for many years. I have never seen anything approaching the level of just absolute efforts to destroy a man like we have seen with this judge, and these last-minute accusations that are in both instances absolutely uncorroborated. And you have sitting U.S. senators saying things like Kavanaugh doesn't deserve a presumption of innocence. I think there ought to be an investigation. I agree with the Democrats. It ought to be an investigation of the Democrats on that Judiciary Committee who are carrying out this politics of destruction against Judge Kavanaugh.
Well, we don't know the facts, but here's what we do know, Lou. If these people are lying about Kavanaugh, they wouldn't provide a date so that he can't have an alibi. They wouldn't provide details that he could refute. They wouldn't provide witnesses that can be challenged. And so if Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed to the Supreme Court, then we live in a country where the accusation functionally is the conviction. That is counter to all of our views on due process and people's right to confront their accuser and get the facts on the table. Brett Kavanaugh should be owed that courtesy and that opportunity. And my suspicion is that Brett Kavanaugh is going to equip himself very well in categorically denying these events.
And I wish that the leadership of the Republican Party, and particularly Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary, would start acquitting himself as reasonably in support of due process, in support of fairness and equity, because the man to this point has been played for a fool by Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, and the other Dems who sit on that Judiciary Committee. It's an insult to the Republican leaders. It is an insult to the American people. It's an insult to the Constitution.
Well, we've got to start calling out the Democrats for playing these games. They sat on the evidence, they delayed, and now they're doing everything they can to just create a cloud of uncertainty rather than actually getting to the facts. If they cared about the facts, they wouldn't have been sitting on these letters and sitting on these accusations, but they did it because they want to delay it and they want the timing to try to metastasize into the general election in hopes of blocking someone who is duly qualified to serve on the highest court.
I couldn't agree with you more. The Dems have been ugly, they are venal, they've been venomous, and uncaring of either tradition, values, or, as I said, the Constitution. But where has Chuck Grassley been? Where have the Republicans on that Judiciary Committee been when they should have said no, no, and no? And they lack the guts to stand up for their own party's nominee, this president's nominee. To me, it's abhorrent.
Well, too many Republicans and Democrats get paralyzed by political correctness. And frankly, we hold the presidency and the House and the Senate because Donald Trump is not afraid of the political correct culture. He leads by example and he leads with boldness. And I was glad to see the president stand by Kavanaugh. And you know what? As Republicans, we need to do the same.
Absolutely. Well said. Appreciate it, Congressman, as always.
Thank you. Happy birthday again, Lou.
Thank you very much, Congressman.